I was pretty shocked actually, because the first week you were pretty blown away by the amount of resources that were put into this, right? Like I was blown away at how individualized it was. Literally almost like a personal incubator.
Welcome to the Startup CPG podcast. I'm your host, Jesse Freitag. What could you learn from one of the largest snack companies in the world? Lonnie James from Bunny James Boxes got to learn just that this year as a member of the 2022 CoLab cohort. Bunny James Boxes makes gift boxes for people with specialty diets, allergies, and eating styles. And they provide this niche gifting solution for individuals, businesses, and retailers. They were already on a fast path to growth when Lonnie decided to apply for Mondelēz International's CoLab program. With iconic brands like Oreo, Cadbury, Belvita, and Wheat Thins, Mondelēz International holds the #1 global position in biscuits like cookies and crackers, and #2 in chocolate. They've also acquired a few fast-growing brands you may recognize like Hu, Perfect Bar, and Tate's Bake Shop in the last few years. Brands selected for their CoLab cohort get access to a 12-week program, a $20,000 grant, one-on-one mentoring, and so much more, which you'll hear about in this episode. It's one thing for me to tell you about the program, but it's another to really dig into an alumnus experience, so that's what we're going to do today. Listen in to learn why Lonnie founded Bunny James Boxes and pivoted from vending machines, why he applied to the CoLab program and why it exceeded all his expectations, what it was like to be in the program and how he leveraged Mondelēz International's resources to help grow Bunny James Boxes, tips for applying to the next cohort of CoLab, and more. Keep in mind that if you're listening to this episode close to release date, applications are open right now for the next CoLab cohort. For 2023, Mondelēz International is looking for startup snack brands who are delicious and disruptive, have won the attention of retailers and consumers, and have at least $1 million in annual revenue. Last cohort, 3 brands selected for the program were from our startup CPG community, so this could be you. Let's dig into Lonnie's story. Hi, Lonnie. Welcome to the show today. How are you?
Hey, Jesse. I am doing great. Thank you for having me.
Yeah, so excited to have you here and wondering if you could start us off by telling us a little bit about yourself and a little bit about Bunny James Boxes.
Yeah, I'd be happy to. I'm Lonnie James, so I'm the head bunny at Bunny James Boxes, which means that I'm technically the CEO and founder. But with any fun startup, you're doing a lot more than that. And Bunny James we're the leader in gifting for people with specialty diets. So you could imagine your sister or brother or mom who just started the keto diet, or maybe they're plant-based, or maybe one of your relatives has celiacs. There's now a gifting solution that you can feel safe with getting them a gift that they will love. And that's what we do here at Bunny James. And we do that on a direct-to-consumer level, as well as a B2B and retail level as well.
Awesome. That's great. Yeah. Our regular listeners know that our household is gluten-free because my husband and my mom both have celiac disease. And as I was looking at the website, I saw a lot of favorite gluten-free brands. And personally, I love this because that's something, and it's also something that we get a lot of questions about as a gluten-free household of, how do I get started in gluten-free products, or what do I find, or what should be my favorites? And so I love that you have options just catered for different diets and different preferences that people are looking to incorporate in their life. That's so cool.
Yeah, absolutely. And it kind of just came really, really naturally for us. And that's because my family is one of those families where my mom's allergic to a few odd things like avocados, eggs, bananas. My dad is diabetic. My sister is allergic to chocolate. I've got another sister who's celiac. My brother's vegan, and I'm lactose intolerant. So you could imagine where this idea formulated.
Yeah. Wow. Well, and today, we're going to dig into your story, and then we're also going to dig into your experience with Mondelēz International's CoLab program, because you were a member of their program. And so I would love if you could tell us a little bit about what stage are you at right now? What's kind of top of mind, growth items that you're thinking about? And then what stage were you at when you applied to CoLab and started the CoLab cohort? And then we'll kind of dig in more.
Yeah, so it's a little bit easier to start from where we are now. So Bunny James boxes were located in Salt Lake City, Utah. We do all of our own fulfillment and production now. And this year we'll ship upwards of 250,000 to 300,000 gift boxes that are all food based. And back when we first applied to the Mondelēz CoLab program, we were probably in that 150,000 gift box range. So definitely some serious growth since we initially applied, and a lot of that's probably a testament to them and some of the learnings that we found there.
Wow, that's amazing. What year did you apply for CoLab, and then when did the program start compared to now?
I always say that time is one of the things that I struggle with the most. People will tell me, they'll be like, oh yeah, don't you remember when we did that a year ago? And it feels like a week ago for me. So you'll have to forgive me if I'm incorrect, but I believe we applied in very, very early very, very late 2021, I want to say, or mid 2021. Honestly, I'm not fully sure, but it was about 3 to 6 months before we actually got in. And then once we were accepted, everything just went very, very, very quickly. So,
okay, great. Yeah. And that would make sense because I think the application windows last year lined up pretty similar to now. This episode is coming out first week of November. Applications are still open now for the next round. So that would make sense for kind of the next cohort. So not very long ago, a lot of really quick growth. That's just so cool. And before we kind of go more into CoLab, I do want to dig into your founding story because it's on your website, but I'd love to hear from you. There's a vending machine. Tell us more about getting started with Bunny James boxes, because it sounds like a really awesome story.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd be happy to. Well, how much time do you have, right? Just so you know, my background a little bit is I always grew up in food. So I grew up in a natural food store. My mom was a manager of a small little natural food store called Lakewinds Natural Foods in Minnetonka, Minnesota. And I grew up stocking shelves and helping out with store resets and those types of things. So we were drinking kombucha way, way, way before it was cool. And after that, I just kind of had a soft spot for better for you food product. So right out of college, I took my first job at UNFI, which is, if you're not familiar, it's the big giant distributor, the gatekeeper for all of the awesome CPG brands that want to sell at retail. And so my job at UNFI was to manage key accounts. So I was selling products into key accounts, Kroger accounts and a lot of bigger accounts on the West Coast. And at that point, I started to get really great exposure to all of these awesome CPG brands. And with that exposure, I was like, hey, why aren't there any better for you vending machines, right? And I had no idea what I was getting into, but essentially I saved up, had custom vending machines made, and I started having product delivered to my apartment. And long story short, the vending business is, I wouldn't say a business that I would recommend anyone to get into. It's really heavy on maintenance, and there's a lot of logistics to it. And, unless you have a big giant vending route, there's not a great way to turn a solid profit from it. So shortly after that, we were looking at these vending machines, and I was like, I've got to figure out a way to buy product cheaper. And that's when the idea came to, is maybe we can put these better for you products in boxes and sell them online. And that's when I first met one of my partners. His name is Madi. He works on the marketing side of our business. And so we put together some snack boxes that were focused as gifts and put them online. And we did more in an hour than we could in a month in my vending machines. And that's when we knew that we may have had something. And long story short, those snack boxes turned into gift boxes. And those gift boxes led us to where we are now, which is we found these pockets, these niches, right? Where it was there weren't great gifts for vegans. There weren't great gifts for people who are gluten-free. There weren't great gifts for these very specific eating styles. And it was a really underserved market, right? Because you could buy a Harry and David's gift basket, but if you sent it to a family like the one that I come from, no one can eat anything. right? Like maybe one person can eat something, the other can eat something different. And I was like, wow, there's really no solution here. And there's really a market here. And very quickly we started to scale. And that was my goal, was how quickly could we scale this up to really be the provider in this allergen specialty eating style market. And so we've honestly been tripping over ourselves as fast as we can. And we've doubled our revenue year over year since 2016. Until this year, where we're starting to level out a little bit more because we've achieved, much more significant scale. And then to add the final piece onto it is we started to get businesses coming to us saying, hey, we love how you're doing this thing that's like inclusive to diets and eating styles. And we want to be able to provide gifts to our employees. And we also want to provide that option. So, we have special software and things where we work with large companies to provide gifts to their employees and clients. And lastly, most recently, we've grown into doing some retail programs. So we've launched recently with Gelson's Markets, if you're familiar with Gelson's, Molly Stone's Markets, if you're familiar with Molly Stone's, Harmon's Markets in the Rocky Mountain region. So really focusing on these specialty retailers where we're doing a similar type of program that falls into their customer rewards division that's actually going to their top customers. So it's probably the most sophisticated demo in a box that you could imagine, where we are able to provide those top rewards customers with new products that we think that they would like to try. And then they go back to the store and buy them at retail. So we've really evolved as we've gone, from throwing some healthy snacks in vending machines to now partnering with larger retailers on some really custom programs.
Yeah. Wow. And do you get a lot of brands reaching out to you wanting to, be featured in the boxes for discovery? Because I imagine when you do the vending machine style, you're kind of buying products and putting them in the vending machine, but a lot of times subscription box style, brands are looking for boxes that they can be in. So is that, do you get a lot of outreach at this point as you've gained exposure?
Yeah, that's a really good question. We've fought the conversation of being put in the no pun intended, in the same box as subscription box companies for a long time, just because it really wasn't what we are, right? A subscription box company is more of like hey, this is a one-time monthly thing. If you want to work with us, you should give us free product for, advertising purposes and just getting your product out there, right? And so what we've built our model on is that we pay for all of the products that we buy because we've wanted a sustainable relationship with our supplier partners. And we do understand that we have like a great reach and a great marketing aspect of the business. So we're probably tougher on pricing than most. But yeah, it's been great for the brands that we've partnered with because, for example, if you go on Amazon right now and you search vegan snacks, the first thing that's going to pop up is going to be a Bunny James box. But for a brand to go on Amazon and pay to be number one for vegan snacks, it's going to be really expensive for them, right? And the cool part is like our boxes go to really niche customers, right? So it's not like it's a kind of like a cheap subscription box where it's like people are just looking to try stuff for cheap, right? No, it's like, no, your product, if you're a vegan, let's say you're a vegan protein bar, right? You're going to vegans. Right? Let's say you're a gluten-free product and you want to market to people with celiac. You're going to those people. So it's been a nice, really, really hot targeted market versus, more of like a cold awareness play.
Yeah, that's super helpful differentiation, clarification. So thank you for that. And I'm wondering if you could kind of share, as we dig in a little bit more into CoLab. So you applied to CoLab, and I'm wondering kind of what were some of your expectations for the program, if you had any, and then, as you get to week one of the program, what maybe really surprised you or met your expectations compared to what you went in thinking?
Yeah, CoLab and the expectations, I try going into new things, just trying not to expect too much. So I guess my expectation was, hey, this is going to be cool. We'll learn from, a big giant conglomerate like Mondelēz, and it'll probably be super high level and, more informational, and it'll be really cool to meet other people in the program and just help grow our business and to learn a little bit about how to be a better company. And I was pretty shocked actually, because the first week you were pretty blown away by the amount of resources that were put into this, right? Like I was blown away at how individualized it was. They knew everything about Bunny James. I mean, beyond what I had told them, right? They had really done their research, and all of like the learnings and all of the mentorship and all of the outside third-party companies they brought in to help us was really a personalized experience. So it was almost like, how do I explain it? I mean, it was literally almost like a personal incubator. Like you're in there with a lot of other founders and a lot of other brands, but they really did a good job of making the resources and the material specific to you.
Yeah, wow, that's so cool. And I believe you had a great mentor experience. Can you share a little bit about like having your own mentor in the program?
Yeah. I had a hell of a mentor experience. Sorry, I don't know how language is on this podcast, but
you can say whatever you want.
yeah. I had an awesome mentor experience. I had two mentors within Mondelēz. One that was focused within strategy. So just to be fully transparent, right? Like one of my biggest things that I wanted to accomplish in CoLab was like, I've been chasing sales and revenue for so long that like we built a pretty, I don't want to say a large company, but a company that's grown revenue super quickly on a pretty shaky foundation, right? Just because like, you know what you know, and you just kind of build, fix, iterate, and you're running the whole time. And like one of my main goals with CoLab was like, I want to build a more strategic foundation for this company, or we have processes and procedures and better quality control. And I want to learn how to manage and build a really good organization, right? Something sustainable, something that's going to take us through this kind of recessionary period that we're in now. And that was one of my huge goals with CoLab. And the cool thing is you get to create your goals with CoLab, right? It's not like they show you a specific thing. It's like I came to the table and I was like, this is what I need to learn. And I got a lot more. But my mentor specifically, one was focused on strategy. So we spent a lot of time on that, and also a lot of time on how we continue to build our B2B and our retail businesses, which are just a really strong business model to have as a backbone of an organization. And we came a long way with that. And then secondly, the other mentor that I had, she is, I don't know if I should be naming names, but she is an outstanding, president, CFO, really can organize a company. And she's done that with multiple companies, including one that Mondelēz acquired a few years back. And I still call her weekly, right? Like on HR issues, on questions I have on our P&L, who is the next right hire? How do I handle this specific situation? And CoLab has been done for 6 months, and I still am calling people. So that's been really, really helpful, because the relationships that I've built there have definitely transcended just the CoLab period, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, that's incredible. And did you also, I've heard from multiple CoLab alum that the community amongst the founders themselves and getting to have other people growing companies in similar stages, that's a big part of the experience. Can you share some about the community of being the other founders you were in CoLab with?
Yeah, I definitely can. And that's probably the ultimate coolest part, right? It's like prior to CoLab, you're eating a shit sandwich alone. And then after CoLab, like at least you're eating a shit sandwich together, right? You know that all of these other people are going through the same stuff, right? Like, and let's be real. I mean, when you're a startup like we are, you're all like on the verge of destruction and amazing success in a day. So it's like the emotional highs and lows there are just a lot to handle. And just the awareness that it's very similar. It's honestly crazy how similar it is. Like no matter the business, no matter the model, like our business is different, right? We're not making a snack. Well, we do make snack products. We do have our own, but that's not the focus of our business, right? We're not launching a snack product that we're taking into retail. So ours, from the outside may be different, but the experiences within the organization and what it's like being an entrepreneur, it's amazing how similar it is across all of the organizations that were in CoLab.
Yeah, that's so interesting. And what kind of access to, what did it look like? You had your mentors that you've mentioned, but Mondelēz has the Snack Futures team, and then you have the extended, like, broad, huge Mondelēz organization. Like, what kind of access did you get to the Snack Futures team and then kind of the broader organization to, like, hone in on specific topics? Or, I believe that it's a 12-week program, so you've got different programming each week, but kind of what did it look like to interact with the pieces of the big organization?
Yeah, what it is? It's really whatever you want and whatever you make it. Like a few good examples is like a lot of our corporate business that we do with big companies like Shopify or Google or whatever, who wants to do amazing gifts or care packages or wellness care packages for their team, a lot of times goes through like the people and benefits or HR side of those larger companies, right? And so, for example, I was connected with the head of HR at Mondelēz to like hear her experience. Does she have connections in that world? And really anybody I wanted to talk to. I didn't ask to talk to the CEO. Looking back, I may have requested that, but any person or anybody within the company that I wanted to speak to, it was super easy for me to get connected to, and they were really willing to help. Like, you can tell it's definitely something that they care about internally as an organization. So I never got any pushback. I was always made time for it, but it was important in the program to like ask, right? Like, if you don't ask, there's no way for Mondelēz to know that you'd love to talk to this department or love to see what's going on over here. And really, it was anything that you asked for in that period, you were able to get access to. Not that they were going to do the work for you, but you could at least get the information that would be helpful to your organization.
Right. Yeah, that's incredible. When we've had Jackie and Bridget have been on the podcast multiple times from the Snack Futures team, and they've talked about how excited that the whole company gets about the CoLab program and how they can add value. And so I just think that's so cool to see the energy and enthusiasm for smaller brands, and then to just kind of dedicate that time. That's so cool. And to hear from you that, that energy was very real and palpable.
Yeah, it was incredible. And especially the people who are really in the Snack Futures program, like you mentioned, Jackie, Bridget, Tappan. You can tell that they've really given their all to this program, and they want it to be successful. And right, because they get a lot out of the program as well. Mondelēz gets a lot of it, right? They get to see, what these cool new brands are doing, what they're focusing on. And so, I mean, it's a very like even relationship, and it was an incredible experience, that's for sure.
Yeah. Do you have any other stories or examples? Because you've experienced a lot of growth just even in the last year, and I'm curious if there's pieces of that kind of came from or that you built off of the CoLab experience that you could share about.
Yeah, absolutely. There was one specific experience that was really helpful for Bunny James specifically. And I think if you were to ask this question to all 10 brands that were in the CoLab, it's probably a different experience, because just depending on where each business is in its life cycle, some things are more helpful than others, right? So with ours, they brought in a outside creative agency that did literally a full rebrand. Like, I bet you if I went and bidded this out, it would have been $15,000, $20,000 to write a full rebrand from a creative agency. If you were to pull any of our Google or Facebook or any ads on any platform, you would see that content, right? Like the way that our site's being updated and changed, like even our messaging, our taglines, everything comes from that. So really, like, who we are moving into 2023 is because of that rebrand that they brought to the table. And that's just because they wanted to provide those creative resources. And the cool part about it is you could focus on what you wanted to focus on with that creative agency. For us, it was a rebrand. We were feeling a little old, like stuff hadn't been updated in a while. And honestly, it like really helped re-energize and remind me of like why we're doing this, because we brought the story back to the brand. And sometimes when you're working so hard for so many hours, for so many years, it just like, it's easy to lose sight of why. Like, what am I doing here? Right. You just kind of get like glossed over. And that experience brought it back to life for me, because that creative agency was able to work with me and like, really talk about why we exist, and then bring that in a really fun, playful, creative way into content. And we use that now.
Yeah, that's so cool. Did you primarily attend sessions, or did you have other members of your team also get to participate in pieces of the program?
Yeah, I primarily attended most of it, but as different aspects of the business were being talked about, we did loop in other people within the organization, right? Because they'll let you do that. For example, if you're talking about purchasing, you can have the person on your team who owns purchasing to, be there and listen in. Marketing, same thing. You can bring the right people in. So that's what we really liked, is you could, maneuver and have the right people in the right place. But I was definitely present for every single opportunity we had to listen, and then just brought in people within our organization who would be a good fit to listen to something that was more specific to what they do on a day-to-day level.
Yeah. I'm also wondering about tips that you have for brands that make it into the program just for maximizing it. I think so far, you've mentioned asking questions, bringing up things that you're interested in. So I, loved if you could expand on that, or also just being able to bring team members and make the most of the time. But any other like tips or ways to really maximize the time in the program?
That's a really good question. I would say this, and I would keep it simple, is it's similar to entrepreneurship in the sense of that, like, it is what you make it. So I came to the program with a pretty specific set of goals that I wanted to accomplish, right? Like, I wanted to learn how to build a foundation for my organization. I wanted to learn how to be a better manager. I wanted to learn how to put the right processes and procedures in place, so I didn't feel like we were always on the verge of collapsing. You know what I mean? Mondelēz had that expertise, and I wanted it. And so those are the things that I came to the table with. And I believe I got absolutely that and more. Like, for example, the rebrand was totally a surprise. So my recommendation would be, if you're lucky enough to get accepted, come to the table with what you want, because you really can use a conglomerate like Mondelēz has the ability to help you accomplish those goals, as long as you're super clear on what you want. And if you just come and listen, it'll probably be a great experience too. But I think the opportunity cost of that is great, because, they could help you accomplish something really, really specific and really, really important to your business.
Yeah, absolutely. And as far as the application process, did you identify in your application a lot of these specific goals that you had? Did you develop them once you knew you got accepted? It sounds like you had a lot of clarity going in, and I'm wondering if that was part of your application itself.
That is also a really good question, Jesse. I guess thinking back, honestly, what I did is, I think I made a really real video that I submitted, and just like really honestly talking about the business and where I was at and how I was doing and what I needed help with and why I thought Bunny James was so awesome and still do. And like, I was just an honest, real video about what it's like and what I would want help with. At that time, like, just thinking back at that video, I would say some of the things that I needed changed a little bit, but that was totally fine, right? Because, sometimes we're able to work through things on our own, because by the time you apply, you have like 3 or 4 months, maybe 5 months until the program actually starts. So of course, things are going to change a little bit. And so I just kind of redid my goals and redid my asks. And right when you start the program, they will have a period where it's like, hey, like, really, what do you want to achieve out of this program? And if you've done some pre-work, that makes that process a lot easier. And I think it's totally fine if your goals change, because if you know anything about startups and entrepreneurs, is that like the whole world for us can change in a minute. You know what I mean? So it didn't seem to be an issue at all that from what was on my video of what my needs were during my submission process versus what I came to had changed a little bit. Yeah, it was totally fine.
Yeah, that makes sense. And from what I've heard from Jackie and Bridget when they've been on the show, is a lot of times in the application, just looking for that willingness to share, weaknesses or growth opportunities, or just a realness with where the business is at, because then that means that you're the type of founder that their team's going to be able to work with to match you with really specific resources. Whereas if you just kind of say, well, my business is amazing, everything's amazing, we're fabulous, and you don't mention anything that you need help with, then it's hard to kind of match you with the right resources and know that brand's going to get a lot out of the program. So just that realness, honesty that you demonstrated sounds really key to the application process as well.
Yeah. And, it would be a total waste of time for them and for you if you have it all figured out.
Yeah.
Which I would be surprised if there are, very many companies that have it all figured out. But yeah, I don't think you need to go into the application process, just trying to pretend like everything is perfect, because, what are they going to help with? So transparency is definitely key, but also making sure to show why your business is awesome and why they should believe in it and why it's the next disruptive thing in the industry. And right, like if I was running the program, I wouldn't want to bring a company in that wasn't super stoked either,
Right. Yeah. Yeah. It's a balance of both those things. You have the excitement and the innovation and the passion and the disruptiveness that they're looking for, and then also the willingness to show that you're ready to learn and grow. So that's super cool. And do you have any other, words of wisdom for brands thinking about applying or deciding whether to apply, or deciding to put this on their wish list if they're maybe not even at the qualifications for the program yet?
Yeah, I would just say apply. And why not do it? Like, It's not difficult to make a 2-3 minute video from your iPhone and talk about the thing that you're working on every day. So if you don't have enough time for this, what do you have enough time for? Because it's an amazing opportunity, right? Like, you get to learn a lot, and, there's a grant associated with it. So, it's a win-win. There's really no reason not to.
Yeah, absolutely. And worst case, from what I've heard, it sounds like there are brands that apply multiple years. And if you don't get in this year, then you still have a team of really fascinating people, and one of the biggest food companies in the world that now knows who you are is tracking your progress. And when you apply again next year and show that you've made progress, just makes your next application even more compelling. So yeah, I think that's super great advice and really appreciate that.
And that's another good point, is we got a shit ton of press. You know what I mean? Like that was huge for us, right? We're a small company. We don't pay a PR firm. Any press that we're getting is all natural. You know what I mean? Like, it's totally organic. And to be in this program, for one, like specifically in our business, it brought a lot of great brands that, came to the table that we're now working with. It brought a lot of additional press coverage. It just brought a lot of additional credibility to our business, because if Mondelēz is willing to take a chance on us, and they do their research, right? Like, it's not just Joe Schmo. Why wouldn't X company? So, we're in a lot of like high level conversations for some of our B2B stuff that we're trying to bid out right now. And it's a huge selling point for us. So yeah, I highly recommend it.
Yeah, that actually was going to be one of my questions, is how you've been able to kind of leverage the experience and the like stamp of approval that you received, as far as, in your retail conversations or in fundraising conversations. Any other examples? Sounds like great press, great resource in your B2B relationship building. Any other examples?
Yeah, there's a lot of, I guess you could say we're in some conversations with some other companies about looking at strategic partnerships and different ways that we can support each other. And a lot of these conversations are with companies that are a bit larger than us and, have a bit more credibility. And I do feel like the Mondelēz part of the conversation that had come up in the past has kind of allowed us to sit at the same table, if that makes sense, right? Just because like they see that credibility, they know who Mondelēz is, and if they don't, all I have to say is, "Oh, it's the owner of Oreo and Sour Patch Kids," and they're like, "Oh, I know you're not." Right? Because they say that Mondelēz, I don't know if you've heard this, is the largest unknown company in the world, because people know all of Mondelēz's brands, but they may not know the parent name Mondelēz. But yeah, a lot of times that we use that today, and it helps us just get at the right table. And so we appreciate that.
Yeah, that's awesome. Well, I'd love to hear too, like, what's coming up next for Bunny James boxes, like the rest of, this year we're getting into gift season, and then next year, like what's kind of top of mind for you? Anything you want to share about? And then also you have so many different, channels. Are you focusing on anything particular in the coming 6 months to a year that you really want to grow out as far as the company?
Thanks for asking. Yeah, I'd be happy to tell you about what the future holds. So over the last few months and since leaving the CoLab program, we've really been focused on process and procedures, right? Like even to the point of where we are slowing down some of our revenue goals just to make sure that we have all of the processes in place, the right people in place, and that way that we can grow very, very rapidly like our goals are. And what I didn't realize prior was like, my goals are simple, right? We're building this business to 100 million. We want that market share. We want everyone to know about Bunny James boxes. We're going to sell. And what I realized is that I almost killed the business. And we're finally working through most of that pain because we didn't have the people, the systems, the infrastructure, right? We were running an $8 million run rate business on a infrastructure that was built in my apartment in 2016. You know what I mean? So we've upgraded our WMS system, right? We've got, a full receiving department. We've got, full-time inventory people. We've got, like all of those things that needed to be in place to continue to scale. We've now started to put in place or have already completed to put in place. So we reduced our revenue goals slightly for 2023. In the sense of growth. And we're focused on really, really making our product better and better and better for our consumer. And I think you'll hear about us or see a lot more of us in the B2B space and then the retail space. We're planning on bringing 3, 4, 5 more retail partners here in the next 12, 18 months and continuing out that program and continuing to expand into more and more niche eating styles, more and more specialty diets, allergies, different things like that in our direct-to-consumer business. So you should definitely continue to see us kicking butt through the next few years.
That's awesome. Yeah. And I encourage everyone to definitely go to bunnyjamesboxes.com, just spelled exactly as you would expect. And then on Instagram, you can go to @Mr. MR Bunny James to follow on Instagram. And then people can make purchases right on the website. It sounds like on Amazon. And like I said, as we go into gift season, corporate gift options, gifts for people in your lives that may have some specific diets that they follow, just lots of really, really cool options. So it's good timing for this episode as well to get this on people's wish list.
Absolutely. Thanks for the shout out, Jesse. I love it. Oh, and we also have we have pre-packed stockings that I think might be available now. If not, they'll be available in the next few days. So you can get a vegan stocking or a keto stocking or exotic jerky stocking, all that fun stuff.
Ooh, I love it. That's so fun. Yeah. Well, this has been awesome, Lonnie. Really appreciate you coming on the show and sharing about Bunny James boxes and sharing about your CoLab experience. And it's just really great. I know it's appreciated by our community, and we really love that CoLab and Startup CPG that we get to work together. And so to get to hear your story was really valuable. So thanks so much for being here.
Yeah, absolutely, Jesse. We really, really, really appreciate you inviting us.
If you're ready to apply to the CoLab program, please go to applycolab.com. That's apply, CoLab.com, or visit the link in the show notes. Thank you for listening in today. I'm so honored you joined me for this conversation, and I love hearing from you all with feedback, suggestions, or if you just want to say hi at podcast@startupcpg.com, or you can find me on LinkedIn. If you liked this episode, we'd love for you to share it with a friend or colleague, subscribe so you don't miss future episodes, and maybe even leave us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts. If you aren't yet in our Slack community of founders and experts, we'd love to see you there. You can get the free invite at startupcpg.com and find all our other awesome resources there, like webinars, databases, the blog, the magazine, and virtual and in-person events. And if you found yourself rocking out to our intro and outro music, which I do every single time, make sure to check out the Super Fantastics on Spotify. It's the band of our Startup CPG founder, Daniel Scharf. I'm Jessie Freitag, your host and producer, and on behalf of the whole team at Startup CPG, thank you for being here and see you next week.